Hi, my name is Jessica, and I just kind of wanted to go over how my NCLEX experience was. I recently took the NCLEX PN this November, on November 23rd. I took mine on November 23rd. I went to a school up in LA, and I graduated in October of this year. Oh, October 2020. Yes, October 2020. And I took my NCLEX on November 23rd. But here's the deal. So I ended school on September 26th, I think, somewhere around there. I don't really remember. And then we had a graduation later in October, and then I took my NCLEX um on November, or yes, this month. Sorry, we're in 2020. But I just wanted basically to talk about just my experience, how I took the NCLEX and what resources I used to study for it, and how I scheduled my whole study session. And hopefully, it works for someone out there, or for someone who's trying to like figure out how to study for their NCLEX PM. So first things first. Okay, so I wanted to stay organized. I like to stay organized, and I basically I just bought like a binder, to keep all my things organized. And I basically, how I studied for mine was different from, at least from what I saw on people's um schedule. Like, I know I watched a bunch of videos on other girls and or guys on how they would schedule their stuff for the NCLEX. And the way I did it, I feel like it was kind of like it worked for me. Because I would see a lot of, like, personally, I saw a lot of people how they would study like one subject one day, and then another subject another day, and then another subject another day. So, like, for example, they would study like foundations on Monday, and then Tuesday they would do farm, and then Wednesday they would do maternity. And I figured out, for at least for me, that just didn't work out, because by the time, like, if I studied on Monday foundations, and then Tuesday farm, and Wednesday maternity, and Friday, if I had like a mini quiz, I wouldn't remember, at least for me, by Friday, I wouldn't have remembered what I did on Monday. And I just felt like it was just wasn't really my thing. Like, I didn't like things being out of order. So, what I did was I got all my subjects like in order. So how I went in nursing school. So at least in my school, I know other schools do it differently. For me and my school, how they did it, we first started off with foundations, and then we drove into, sorry, then we started off with foundations, and then we did med surge, and then we did maternity, peds, mental, farm, and leadership. That's how we did it in that order, and that's how I wanted to do it, because I just felt like that's how I was able to study and how it just worked out for me. So I didn't know after graduation. Obviously, I took a week, a break off from my just studying. Our school had this thing called Batty, and I personally didn't like Batty. I did kind of like try and go in there and try to do things, but it just seemed like a lot of work, and I didn't really like it. The rationales, it just like, it didn't really fit what I wanted to do. And so, like everyone else, I purchased uworld, because I saw a lot of um, students on YouTube, and they would purchase uworld. And so I thought, you know what, I'm going with uworld. But on top of uworld, I also used other resources. I used my notes from school. So my notes, my books from school, I lay them out in order. I can provide pictures, like, so that way you guys can see it. But I laid all of my books in order, from foundations all the way to leadership and management, and you know, pulled out a calendar and I wrote down things on what days I was going to study what. Now, I didn't know when I was going to get my ATT number, and I didn't know how long it would take to schedule my NCLEX, so I just kind of had to guess. I know COVID did set things back, so I didn't know how long it was going to take. But I just kind of had to like estimate on like when my test date was and go from there because I didn't have a set time frame. So what I did is I grabbed a calendar, and I can show you guys pictures on here. I don't know how I'll do that, but I basically grabbed a calendar, and I can show you guys. So I grabbed a calendar right here, and I graduated in September, and I took a week off. But I basically made a calendar. This was for the month of November, right? And so what I did in September, so in October is when I actually started studying. So what I did was at first I did 3 days, study for foundations, 3 days for each subject, basically 3 days. Once November hit, that's when I was doing each subject. I would take 2 or 1 day to review that subject, because if it was something I was struggling with, like for example, I didn't do good in maternity, or at least I feel like I didn't do good in maternity. I just felt like that to me just was the subject that I had a hard time because it just wasn't something I was interested in. So I had to go back and learn all that stuff. And so I added more time on that. I watched all the videos for Level Up RN. I did all that. I went through all her flashcards, and I did the Mark K. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. The Mark, his maternity video. I did all that. I did all the important drugs for the meds for maternity. So I mainly focused on that. And then I did what else? I did leadership and management. So I went back and I listened to the Mark K video for delegation and leadership and management. I think that's what it's called. I can link that in the video down below. And I did that. So I listened to that multiple times, and I did maternity multiple times. So those were like at least my weakest ones, my areas. The other stuff I was okay with. I was like, okay, I got this. And so that's the one that I didn't, those are the ones that I added a little, more time. The week of before my test, I used this book that I purchased that one of my friends from nursing school, she had, gotten her supplies. And basically, I like this book because it has a lot of like pictures in here. It has like, I can show you guys. Hold on a second. Over here. Basically it goes from everything. Foundations, med-surg, maternity, peds, mental, and it has like all these pictures. And if you follow her on Instagram, she has like daily quizzes on her Instagram, and they're so fun to like go in there. She has the rationales and everything, and she gets the questions from this. So it's pretty nice. It has everything. The mother, what else it does, like SIDS, the peds for what you gotta know for peds, the heart, all of this stuff, this like cystic fibrosis, fever, croup, right? Let me see what else I can find from. And she has the farm ones. I highly, highly recommend you guys to get the farm cards, because her farm cards are everything. Like, they're very visual. I have some here from maternity that I got from hers. These. And they're everything, literally everything that I learned for the NCLEX. I don't know if you guys can see it, but I highly recommend these. They're everything. If you don't get this book, or if you have a hard time with farm, I recommend that one. Like I recommend that you have that. But basically these yeah, those are the ones that I used. Trying to see if I can find more cool ones. But they have a lot of like pictures. They go over like the heart, EKGs, all these things are here. It's very visual. Cardiac, type 1, type 2 diabetes. It also has a farm too. You can even go in here. So it even talks about levothyroxine, which is an important drug med that you gotta know. But it's a really good book. I used this right before I was gonna take the NCLEX. I used it to like brush up on things. Like I had already gone through all my notes, and so I basically just went through this. And what else? Oh, another resource that I also used, at least throughout nursing school, was Simple Nursing. Simple Nursing, I recommend. If you don't get the Nurse in the Making bundle, then I at least recommend you getting Simple Nursing. I highly recommend you getting that because it has everything, every single subject, and it's even like categorized from like foundations to med surge to critical care, maternity, med surge, peds. I know they just updated the videos for peds. And it's like everything that you literally have to know because in nursing school, there were some instructors that just didn't really I mean, they're great people, they're great teachers, but sometimes I just didn't understand what they were saying. So I would go and watch the video for that subject. They have it they have all these subjects that you learn in nursing school, and they have it condensed down into like 11 minutes with cartoons and characters and fun ways to remember things. And I took notes on all those all those videos, and those help. It helped her ATI. That's what we used to test during nursing school, and it helped to study with NCLEX and just learning and grasping the subject. It helped. So I definitely recommend that. And your uworld. So now, what did I do with uworld? Okay, so this is what I did with uworld. So I took the practice test, right? I took the first practice test. I got the subscription where you get 2 tests and then you get your quiz bank. So I did that. Right after nursing school, right after graduation, I had taken the first test because I wanted to use it as a baseline to see where I was at and what I needed to study and go from there. And so the first time I took my test, I have my result here. The first time I took mine, I got a very high chance of passing, which I wish I could have like taken my NCLEX, but I was nervous. I wasn't sure. I feel like I needed to go back and like study. I wanted to be prepared going in that test, knowing that I'm going to give everything rather than like going in the test, knowing that I'm like second guessing. And I didn't want to feel like that. So I wanted to go in feeling like I've gone through all my subjects, studied everything, and I'm just going in there to give it my all. So the first time I took my test, I was surprised that I actually scored high, or very high apparently, because I wasn't expecting that. But it just gave me more confidence to just keep doing what I was doing and just studying. And that's what I did. And then after that, then I got into the question bank. And what I did is how I did it. I started off with foundations first because that's what we went over in nursing school. I did foundations, and I would do 75 questions a day. So, I would take in the morning, I would grab whatever notes I had from foundations, and I would just like kind of skim through it or read it. If there were areas that I just forgot, I would read it. Areas that I knew, I would just skim through it. And so I did that in the morning, and then I would give myself a break, and then, or sometimes I would just like spend maybe 2 or 3 hours brushing up on that in the morning, and later in the afternoon, then I would do my questions. I would do 75 questions. Um, and so let's say I would do foundations, right? So in the morning I would do, I would study for maybe 2 or 3 hours, just go through my notes and go through everything. Cause again, I had to like tell myself that, okay, I am knowledgeable and I know my stuff. So I can't be teaching myself, the material because I know it. Like I know it's in my brain. Somehow it's going to be in my brain. Like, so that's why I kept telling myself, like, I have to be confident that I know my stuff, that I'm just going here to just brush up, to, go in here. Unless if it was something that I had trouble with in nursing school, then I'd, yeah, have to go in there and learn it. But if it's something that I felt confident in, I was like, okay, you know what? I know my material. So I'll do foundations in the morning, brush up on that. In the afternoon, then I would do my questions. I would do 75 questions in the afternoon. I would take my test. And then after I took my test, then I would go back and I would read the rationales and write them out. It was time consuming. It did take a lot. I want to say it did take a lot to like go in there and write it down. I would get tired, but I would remind myself, you know what? Like I'm giving it my all for these next couple of days or weeks. And after that, then I'm free. I'm done. Right. So I know it's going to be, time consuming, but you also have to, do it for your license, right? You want to do it to get your license. You want to do it to officially get your LVN, or if you're doing your RN, that too. But I would go in there and do that and write down the rationales. I would read it. There were things that I thought it was interesting. Then I would, write it down. But sometimes there were questions that were hard, that I would look at the participation, or what percentage of people got it right. If it was something that was like 1%, 5%, maybe 10% or 20 at max, then I would read it or make a note. But I wouldn't spend too much time on it because, when I was watching the Mark K videos, he mainly talked about like when you go and take your NCLEX, you want to make sure you know what everyone knows. And that's what the test is testing you for, to make sure that you know what everyone else knows. That's what they want. Harder questions, are good, that you want on the NCLEX, but so that's kind of how I kind of thought about it when I was doing uworld. Like if it was like something that was like maybe 5% of people got it right, I wasn't going to spend too much time on it. I was just going to maybe make a note or just read the rationale. Or I would mark it so that way later on I can like come back and like redo that question again. So that's what I did. And these are all my notes that I took from peds. They have good information about peds, about if you're having a hard time with what's it called, what month they do certain things. They also have like a map down of that. They have like pictures of everything, like CPR, where you put your fingers, for infants, how you do the abdominal thrust, for someone if someone is choking. This was from Simple Nursing. I printed this out. You can also print out things from Simple Nursing notes too. I did this, the EKGs. This helped a lot. If you're having a hard time with that, but also the Nursing and Making book also contains EKGs, so that one's also great. Tracheostomy care, just the measles and autism interventions that you want to know. So they also have that there. They also have like how to do your math, that too. I'm expecting that people to come out. But yeah, so that's all the stuff that I have for you guys. But yeah, throughout nursing school, I did purchase a couple materials. I purchased, what did I purchase? Okay, so I purchased Level Up RN when I did maternity and when I did peds. But Simple Nursing, I recommend that. They just updated their videos for P, so I definitely recommend you that. And then they have everything. They have mental health on there too. Simple Nursing and Nurse in the Making also was a good one that I definitely recommend. Level Up RN is also great. What else did I do? I know I used some other stuff, but I can't remember which one, what it was called, but I can link it up down here, once I remember the name. But yeah, that's how I did that. And those are the resources I used to study. On the day that I took my NCLEX, I had taken it out, like I mentioned, in November, on November 23rd this year, 2021. And I went in there just, giving it my all. It was a a Tuesday morning, and I went in there, um, just giving it my all. And it's funny, it's weird because um, you don't know what questions are hard and which questions are easy. Well, some maybe you can tell which ones are easy. Maybe I noticed that maybe like 2 or 3 or 4 were easy, but others I had just mixed feelings about it. When I was taking mine, um, I was scared. I got like questions that were just weird. It just made me feel when I came out of that test. Okay, when I came out of that test, I just felt dumb because there were questions that I just didn't know, which apparently those were hard questions if don't know. It's hard to explain, but it just made me when I came out of that test, it made me feel um confused. Um what else? But I feel like if you study, if you do uworld, if you go over your videos, if you do all those questions, oh, on top of uworld, because I ended up running out of questions on uworld, so I went back and I did practice questions on this book right here. Let me find it really quick. So I did I don't know if you guys have this book, but our school gave us this book and basically came with the code in the book, and with that code you were able to go online and set up an account and have this quiz bank of like I think it had like 4,000 something questions and had various um questions that went from foundations, maternity and all that. And you can create your own test and then take the test and then read a rationale. Or you also had the option where you couldn't read the rationale. But I ended up running out of questions on uworld, so I didn't want to do ATI because it just kind of I didn't like ATI and the rationales. Um, and with these questions, I felt like I was getting, the foundations of nursing, like I was getting what I needed to know, the basics. So I liked that, and it made me, practice my questions, and I did a bunch for delegation for leadership and management because I was having a hard time with that. So I did that on there. I would read the rationales, but sometimes I wouldn't because it just wouldn't make sense. But it was good just to practice and do more questions. So I did that, and then let's see, that's it. That's all I use. But yeah, so that was November 23rd, and then 2 days after that, um, I checked my what did I check? Oh yeah, the account. Sorry, I checked my email. The account. I checked my account and I had one of my friends from nursing school. I had called her up in the morning. I think it was around 6ish in the morning, and I had called her and I was scared because I was scared to check my score. But I had called her and she helped me and she ended up checking it for me. And, turned out I passed. So I was really excited because it was also on Thanksgiving Day. So that day I had made a cake for my parents and I had written down like my name and then the LVN, at the end. So that was a great day, great Thanksgiving day. So I'll never forget that. But I just hope that you guys, keep studying and keep going. Don't give up. Especially with those rationales, it takes time. Like I get it, but you just want to give it your all. Give it your all. Um, and then go in that NCLEX knowing that you're giving it your all. And remind yourself that you are smart, that you are knowledgeable, that you just you graduated nursing school and that you have all that knowledge within you. And you know your stuff, you know your material. You have to be confident going in that test, you know and yeah, so just remind yourself that you are smart, you are capable of taking that test. You are smart, you know what you're doing. Okay, so that's all I want to say. I know this video was long, but hopefully helps you guys out. So thank you.